You too.
Yay. All right. Patrick, how are you?
Doing well, I think.
Good. All right.
It's always interesting when you try a new format on a presentation, see how it goes.
You too.
Yay. You'll be fine.
You're among friends.
Right? Most of the
Uh-huh.
time.
There it
Yeah.
is. There it is.
With friends like Chin, who needs enemies? I mean,
Yeah, that's usually my line.
He's not that such a bad guy.
usually.
Hey, the guy I saw just yesterday. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Ben.
Good
I'm
to see
seeing a
you.
whole bunch of new faces. Whole bunch of
Yeah,
new. That's wonderful. Glad to see all these new faces.
Yeah. Well, especially with
it
the
is weird.
Eventbrite deciding to make it itself useless. Um, our
That's
last,
a real bugaboo.
yeah, our presentation or training in October was bad. We had less than 40 people on, so or less than 50. I think we had about 46. So
Oh, wow.
hopefully,
A couple hundred people.
yeah, we've had a couple hundred. We had 130 registered on Zoom last time I checked.
Is that for tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
this is a rough night for a meeting. People are trying to finish their shopping and trying to finish their cooking and trying to, finish their gift wrapping. So it's a rough time right now for a lot of
we're up to
people.
140, so that's good.
If they
We can
come,
at least get
yeah.
70 on.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. But this will be live streamed, and then the intent is these should be like short, 1 to 3 minute explanations about each tip and trick. So
Mhm.
I want to break these up into YouTube shorts and
Yeah.
then hopefully get people's interest because it's intimidating when you see a 2 hour presentation on YouTube.
Mhm.
I'm not going to click on that one.
Unless you're very interested.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sally.
2 hour presentation is on YouTube is the equivalent of Floor Watch.
oh,
Ooh, that's Floor Watch is a work of art. Come on. What is
no,
that?
brother.
A 10 gigabyte document? Jamming in my email.
More like
It's a delight to receive every month, Pat.
more
Jeez.
like 14.
I love
But I
love
do
it. I love it every time I get it.
Shin is
I
working
do it
hard.
with love.
He's working hard.
Always. So, woohoo. Alrighty.
Do you have to type the table of contents by hand, or do you have a program that creates it for you?
I do pretty much everything. I pretty much do everything by hand. I'm old fashioned like that. So, boom, there we go. And by the way, January will mark our 96th issue of Floor
Wow.
Watch. 96. That's 8 years of these things I've been doing.
Wow. Wow.
That's
Congratulations.
amazing.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations, yeah.
Yeah, so my hope, and I have to actually start talks. I've brought it up, is to take every issue of Floor Watch that has been that started from issue number one.
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody who's here, we're talking about our newsletter that I do every month, taking from issue number one to issue number whatever,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it gets to be, and then putting it in the archives of the LAFD Historical Society. So I think that should be something we should
Yeah.
be able to make happen. So at least there is a historical record that we were actually here.
Yeah. Good idea.
Oh yeah.
Good idea. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yay.
Yeah, I had someone
All right.
unsubscribe from my newsletter saying it was too long, so I signed them up for Chins.
As a- that-
Oh,
I use it just to see it. It's like I love it just to see if anybody's actually listening or knowing it, because sometimes it's like I can send those things almost endlessly and never hear back from anybody. It's amazing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
What's
all
the
righty.
longest one in terms of page count that you've hit?
The longest one was 100, I think, and
Oh
13
no.
pages.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
she writes books.
That
That's
yeah,
right.
that's
Well,
long.
as Carolyn knows, I came from a screenwriter background, so
Mm,
I'm used to writing long pieces of prose and everything like that. So,
mm.
just saying.
He's just
Wow.
long-winded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And very long-winded. So, at least I don't talk nearly as much as I write.
We're both.
Is there another word for it than long-winded? Maybe somebody with a lot to say or a lot to share.
No, he's
True.
verbose.
You know, it's like I sometimes use the word bloviating from time to time just for fun. I have
Mhm.
a sense of humor.
Yeah.
All righty, Patrick. We are getting close to the top of the hour.
Well, I do like Danielle's segment. I think
Yeah,
it's really good.
Danielle is the best. She
She
is
used
the
one of my
best.
little snippets in there, and I thought she did a good job with it.
She does a fantastic job. I'd love to get her back out with us in Battalion 18 and everything like that. Carolyn, I think, knew Danielle Zucker when she was very active around here. So, yay.
Yeah. All these new faces. That's good. That's
No, I only see 12, no, 12 tiles on my screen. Do you see more?
There should be an arrow on the right and left that'll let you scroll through the faces and names.
No.
Hmm.
So it's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead
No.
let me try that again. Go
No.
ahead and get started in about 3 minutes, giving everybody a chance to log in for all the people who like to show up late. I mean, on time.
Whoops.
Mhm.
Don't you have a note about being on time
Oh yeah.
in there? But also, Patrick, when you start doing your intro, I'm going to intentionally break in just to do to you what you always do to me.
Where's the mute button?
Oh. Come
I
on,
can
this is my one time. This is my one time to get you. And as everybody knows here, we have a lot of fun with each other, so we do a lot of ribbing back and forth because we really enjoy what we do. So all the ribbing is always in good nature. I hate you.
oh, you just put that in the recording.
Don't believe
Moving
your
on.
ears or your eyes.
Yep. Moving on.
Seems like every time I do a new Zoom presentation every month, Zoom has changed how it does things. It's like, where's
Don't you?
participants tab now? All right, 56.
56.
Okay, so it's not just me who feels that way from time to time, right?
Oh, it is
Mhm.
monthly
Yeah,
changes. It looks
always
like.
make changes on Zoom.
They're just trying to keep you on your toes, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that I can figure it out, but there's a lot of people who it takes them a little bit longer to figure things out. And you get people asking, where's the hand? Raise hand. It's like, I don't know where they moved it to today.
Yeah.
It's 61. Give everybody just go ahead and get started now. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. My name is Patrick Botts Forbes. I am the LAFD CERT, that's Community Emergency Response Team Central Bureau Coordinator. And I shared the wrong presentation.
Oh.
There we go. All right. That let a few more people sneak in anyway. All right, Chin, so if you wouldn't mind watching the chat. All right. I'm going to mute everybody. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat, and we'll let people give their tips and tricks at the end and ask any questions at the end. We are trying a new format tonight, so it'll be a little dicey on the time. We have 55 slides to go through, and the format is an explanation, a 1 to 3 minute explanation with each slide. So if we do 3 minutes per slide, we're going to run out of time real quickly. But thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. My name is Patrick Botts Forbes. I am the LAFD Community Emergency Response Team Coordinator for Central Bureau. And this is our third Wednesday of the month continuing education training. We're wrapping up the year with tips and tricks to live life better prepared. One of the recurring themes you're going to see throughout the slide deck, throughout these tips and tricks, is really the core, in my opinion, of living life better prepared. I say that the most important thing you can have in life and in every situation is options. No matter how you look at it, if you have options, you have the capability to do something. If you have no options, you're at the mercy of someone else, at someone or something else. Could be a person, it could be fate, it could be a situation. If you have no options, you are in trouble. So if you don't have any options, try and find some. If you can't find any, try and create some. The more options you have, the better prepared you can be to deal with that situation. Unfortunately, you might discover that sometimes there are no good options. You might have several options, but they're all bad. So at times you're going to be looking for the least bad option to get through whatever situation you're in. And in order to do this ahead of time, you want to maintain situational awareness. As you're going through life, you're going into any situation, you're going through your day-to-day existence, maintaining situational awareness is the most important ability that you can have. I recommend that people don't block out the world. A lot of times I see people walking in a busy street with headphones in. Headphones are great, especially the advancements in noise cancellation. You can completely block out the world. Unfortunately, when you're walking in the middle of the street, oblivious to everything going on around you, and cars don't see you, and you don't see or hear the cars, that just leads to a bad situation. Additionally, in Los Angeles, we have a significant coyote population. If you're walking your dog and your headphones are in, and you're not paying attention to the 2 coyotes that are trailing you, looking at your lunchable dog, you're not going to like the outcome of this. So whatever you do, don't block out the world. Keep your head on a swivel, keep looking around, keep situational awareness. Know what's in front of you, know what's behind you, know what's to the left, to the right, know what's above and below you. Periodically just stop, turn, look, listen. It doesn't hurt you. It may take a few seconds to do this, but if something is going to do you harm, you knowing it's there is going to give you options. One of the things that you can try doing is, say you're driving or in a car with your family, or you're walking along, or just play this game in your head. What will I do if this happens? You're stopped at a stoplight. There's a train. What happens if the train stops in front of you and breaks down? Well, if you're too close to the car in front of you and the car behind you is too close to you, you don't have any options. You're stuck there. But if you give yourself a little bit of room in front of you and the person behind you gives you a little room, or even if they don't, you have enough room to maybe turn around and get out of there. What happens if that train stops, but it flips over and crashes and sets the cars in front of you on fire? You want to get out of there really badly. So start playing these games in your head. Start thinking about what could possibly go wrong, because then if the worst case does happen, you've already thought about it. You've already looked for options. You've hopefully given yourself some options, created options, and now you can do something about it because you've already thought about the possibility. One of our bureau chiefs was joining us early on when we were doing these presentations, and she said this great line: "Hope is not a plan." It's important to have plans, make plans, come up with ideas. What will I do if this happens? How will I survive this? How will I get through this? The worst possible thing is you're at the mercy of something else. You're out of options. You have no options. You're stuck. And now hope is your only plan. And that's not a great place to be in. For those of us who live in LA, did you check the weather before you left this morning? It was coming down pretty hard when I was coming home. And I was at least prepared for it. And I know we have a second storm coming in that's gonna be significantly worse than the storm that's hitting us right now. So it's important to know what the weather is. Now, we live in Southern California because we don't get weather, but we do get weather. We actually get some pretty significant storms, and because the storms that we do get hit with are oftentimes stuff we're not used to. As we know, those of us who drive in LA know that people don't know how to drive in the rain. So knowing what the weather is ahead of time, knowing what to expect throughout the day is critical. I was picking up a friend, and she came out with a heavy sweater on and some fuzzy scarf. And I thought, yeah, you didn't look at the weather because it was going to be 80 degrees that day. Probably around noonish, she was regretting her life choices. So definitely know what you're going to expect before you leave the house. Gives you options. Firefighter, after our Valley Bureau refresher brought this up at one of our CERT classes, a lot of us know where we're going to go, and we don't need to use navigation apps, Waze or Google Maps or Apple Maps. But these oftentimes have traffic reports. They know about an accident that you don't know about. And he was saying that 5 out of the 6 firefighters leaving the refresher used Waze to get back to their home. The 6th firefighter discovered there was a massive accident and a 2-hour backup that the other 5 firefighters didn't have to deal with. I was driving back from Vegas once, and my navigation system told me to take the side street that goes along the freeway. And I thought, this is weird, but I took it. And for several miles, a good chunk of time, I was traveling the same speed as the freeway until it came to a halt, and I kept going. So these apps are a great feature. Now, they're not perfect. They don't know in real time that an accident has occurred, but they could know about an accident that you don't know about and route you around that and save you a significant amount of time and hardship. For those of you who showed up at 7:05 6:05. Plan to be there early. On time is late. A lot of times we think, oh, okay, the meeting starts at 7, so I'm going to sign in right at 7. And then, oh, Zoom has to update. And oh, I'm having trouble getting in. What do I do? Am I going to contact? And now you're 5-10 minutes late to the meeting. But if you plan to get there early, you plan to get there at 6:45, then you could deal with any kinds of issues that might happen. Same thing, you plan to be at an appointment at 7, but you need to be at an appointment at 7, and then you run into traffic or something happens. You have to deal with, oh, I'm out of gas. I need to get gas. But you plan to be there 15, 30 minutes early. Now you can deal with this. It gives you options so that you can still make it on time. If you don't, then you're rushing to try and catch up. And rushing is how accidents happen. And unfortunately, and I've done this myself many times, I'm rushing because I'm now late and I don't want to be more late. And so I'm trying to get out, I'm trying to get down the road, I'm trying to do this. I end up forgetting things. I'm rushing to get there even though I'm already late. Sometimes you're just going to have to suck it up and say, all right, I'm late, but I'm not going to rush, because rushing is how accidents happen. And if you're rushing and you're dropping things, you're trying to grab your laptop on the way out, you end up dropping your laptop, or worse, you're trying to be aggressive in traffic and get through and end up causing an accident, you're actually going to be even more late. So don't rush to even be more late. Try and be there early, but if you're already late, just own it and don't make it worse. This has become more of an issue lately. Go to the restroom when you have a chance. Oh, I don't think I need to go. I can go when I get there. It's only 10 minutes away. Yeah, and then you hit traffic, or then there's an accident in the way, or there's something else, and now you have to go. And what might have been 10 minutes away now feels like 100 minutes away, or it just feels like an indefinite amount of time. So if you have the chance to go, go. That way, at least that's one less thing to worry about while you're dealing with whatever life throws in your path. This is something I learned in my first CERT class. And you'll see most sheriff's deputies do it. A lot of firefighters will do it. Back into a parking space if you can. If you have the time to do it, do it. Because if you have to get out of there fast, it's a lot easier to pull straight out than it is to back out. And if you're trying to deal with a lot of other people trying to get out of there at the same time, now you're dealing with all that traffic when it's so much easier just to pull out. Now, sometimes, especially right now, if you're trying to do shopping at any place and there's a line of cars behind you, they're not going to appreciate you taking the time to back in. So use your own judgment here. But if you can, back into a parking space. Never stop learning. This is one of the most important things. I think really if you stop learning, and it's, what's the point of life at that point? Are you really still living? All experiences should teach you something, especially the bad ones. If you experience if you encounter a bad experience, you deal with something traumatic or unpleasant, you hate going through it, try and learn something. Try and learn how to experience that again. Try and learn how to fix whatever situation led up to that experience. Learn something so that at least you can look back and say, okay, that sucked, but I now know how not to get into that same situation again. I saw this on a YouTube video and I paraphrased it. Develop competency in your skills. If you know what you're doing, you can be confident in what you're doing. And if you can do something confidently and competently, then quite frankly, you're probably a head above everyone else. There's so many people out there that are unfortunately just not competent. In fact, I consider that probably one of the best compliments you can give somebody is that they're competent. And that's a sad thing to say, but really, truly, if you're going to do something, learn to do it well and learn to do it confidently. And then everyone will respect you and acknowledge that you actually know what you're doing. The worst thing that you can do is do something poorly and think that you're doing it well, and everyone just kind of they know because it's very obvious that you're doing it wrong. It's also obvious that you're not doing it confidently. You don't have to be the fastest. People rush to do things. They want to be the one who leads. But I was trying to get the slide in there, and I don't think I got it in here. I always say you don't have to be the first, but don't be the last. Let other people lead the way. If they're rushing and they need to get in front of you, let them go. Let them get into the accident because they're being aggressive. They're trying to get in front of everybody else. Watch what they're doing. If they're in front of you and they hit a pothole, drive around the pothole. But you might not have seen that pothole if you were the first one there. And now you have the damaged vehicle. But just as importantly, move with purpose. When you're going to do something, do it with intent. I'm going to go here and make it very clear that's what you're going to do. Jose, you want to give this one? Jose here.
He is
I
here.
saw him earlier. I saw him earlier.
Might have gone to the restroom. All right. Know your limitations. Know your limitations because it's important that you can get out of a situation that you get yourself into. I work in IT and I've been doing it for quite some time. When I started in IT and I had to learn the hard way because there was no one above me in skill set, if I did something and I broke something, I had to fix it. Our help desk people today, they have people they can escalate to. And they break something or they're dealing with a problem, all they have to do is escalate it to me, and then they don't have to find out how I fixed it. But if you know your limitations, you go, okay, I've never done this before, or I've done this before and it's ended poorly. I'm very cautious about how I approach a situation because I don't want to get into something that I can't fix or that is going to cause other people problems and is going to blow back on me. Know your limitations so you don't get into something you can't handle or you can't get out of on your own. The unknown is scary. It really is. A lot of people don't want to try something new. I will claim to be this person. I'm not a fan of trying new food, especially if I don't think I'm going to like it. I don't like wasting food, and the reason is, I'm a very picky eater. I know there's certain things that I will not like, so I actually won't try certain foods, especially if it's going to go to waste. I'm trying to get over this. The unknown is scary, but if I don't try new food, if I don't try new things and become complacent, then I may lose out on opportunities of something that's really delicious. Or if I don't try new skills, or I become stuck in a rut, do the same thing over and over again, I stop learning. I stop growing as a person. That complacency is actually terrifying. It should be more scary than the unknown. So try new things, practice, learn, put yourself in a safe environment, surround yourself with people who, hey, you don't like the food, one of your friends will eat it. That way it doesn't go to waste. Chin, this one's yours. Oh, there's Jose. Got back from the restroom, huh?
No,
Oh wow.
I was
You got-
getting
you
my
got-
radio ready, man. I have Radio Net tonight.
Sorry, you missed it. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Ha
We got another one later on, Jose. Just try and stay here for that one.
All right, buddy.
Whoopsie. And you guys kind of sneaked up on me over there. I'm glad I didn't step to the restroom or anything like that. One of the things I always like to tell folks, especially people in our teams, don't overthink it. For those of you who've been part of my trainings or been out with me in the field, you hear me saying that all the time. One of the things I notice with our folks, and a lot of it, you have to give it over to the fact that we don't do a lot of these things that all these the search and rescue and the medical, and we don't do all of that all the time, not like first responders who get that really, really good muscle memory. But I want to take it back to something Patrick said. This is the reason why you practice, and this is the reason why you want to become competent, because I have seen teams in the field during practice overthink everything. I've seen them overthink doing medical triage. I've seen them overthink doing basic search and rescue. And really, what you have to understand is when you're standing out there and you're thinking of all the what ifs. Well, what if we do this? And what if it doesn't work? And what if we do that? And then you're burning time. And I actually remember a scene in my head of one exercise where I literally looked at the team standing around a person lying on the ground, and that person was pretending to be in some kind of medical distress, and I clocked the team at 10 minutes, sitting up there doing all the what ifs and whatevers and everything like that. You got to remind yourself that when you're doing this, there is a time factor to it, because your job is to take care of the person or situation you're looking at immediately, and then to start moving to the next set of situations. So don't get caught in that situation of overthinking and all that kind of stuff. That is actually where your training should kick in. Your training should really help you guys, understand what your next move should be. I'm not saying don't have a discussion about it, but at some point, very quickly, you need to make a decision and live with it. That back part, and live with it, is something that I think everybody kind of fears. They fear failure, they fear messing up. But guess what? You're out there doing the best you can. So don't overthink everything out there. And by the way, team leaders, if you are ever a team leader out there, you may have been elected democratically to that team leader position. But when you start seeing this thing happening with all the overthinking, you make an autocratic decision and you say, we're going to do this. Let's get underway. One of the biggest thing you guys can master. And that's just my thought. If you can get past that, everything else comes easy. Patrick.
And taking this back to our earlier slides, having options, knowing and thinking about the plans ahead of time, the possibilities. If I pre-think, okay, what am I going to do if I play that game? What am I going to do if this happens? I've already thought about it, and now I encounter it. And now I don't have to think about it at that point. So try and come up with scenarios in your head, worst possible case, and think through what you will do before you actually encounter it. Otherwise, then you're dealing with it right then and there, and now you have to think about it.
And Patrick, I want to say just one more quick thing. That's why we get out and practice, so we can help you face as many of these situations as possible so you don't have to think about it.
Absolutely. Know where the emergency exits are, not just the one you came through. Unfortunately, the reality is active shooters happen, and they tend to look for places with a lot of people. And you'll have someone come in through the front entrance and start shooting. And you'll see it in security footage. People panic. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to get out of there. They don't know where the other exits are, and they run right towards the shooter because they know where they came in from, and that's where the shooter is. Or you're in a venue and a fire happens or an earthquake happens, and the place you need to go is now not safe. Where are you going to go? Look around when you enter the supermarket, Costco, wherever you are, venue, theater. Know where the emergency exits are and how to get out of there. Because again, you want to have options. If option 1 doesn't work, I'm going to go for option 2. If option 2 doesn't work, I'm going to go for option 3. But I need to know what those are ahead of time. I need to think about it. What's my plan? If the room fills with smoke, where am I going? I can't see the emergency exits, but I know where they are because I observed them when I came in and I thought about it. Look for the fire extinguishers and AED. You might not be the person running to go get the fire extinguisher or the AED. You might be the person doing CPR on someone. But you can now tell someone, okay, back at the main entrance, at the hostess desk is an AED. Go grab it, bring it back here. You call 911, get the paramedics here. You know, tell people to stop taking video of us. It gives you options to know where these things are ahead of time. You don't want to try and find these things when you actually need them. And hopefully you never will, but it's good to know where they are. Always keep a real flashlight and a pocket knife or some sort of blade on you. These are things that are very hard to reproduce when you need to do them. I know keys sometimes work, but my keys are all worn down. I tried cutting open a package with a set of keys that I had, and none of the keys had a sharp edge on them anymore. It became very difficult to get this package open. I normally have a pocket knife on me at the time, and I don't know why I didn't at this time. And then we just did a drill recently in the Palisades, and we didn't tell anybody that we were going to shut off the lights. Well, got a bunch of people bringing their cell phones out and trying to see. And if you've ever tried to use the flash or the camera light on your cell phone, it's useful unless you're trying to look around a dark room with it, and that light only goes a few feet. So I always carry a real flashlight on me. It's small, it's compact, it fits in my pocket or it's clipped to my pocket. And I can see a good amount of space with this flashlight. I can see very far with it. I can vary the brightness so I'm not blinding someone with it, but it's a real flashlight. I always carry some sort of blade on me if I can. And this is not to be confused with a weapon. I actually picked this very specifically. Yeah, I can open it and deploy it very quickly, but it is a very thin blade, and it is basically a glorified paper, letter opener. If I try and use it as a weapon, it will snap the blade pretty quickly. So don't think about this as having a weapon on you. It's a tool. Flashlight's a tool. The pocket knife is a tool. But I use them both constantly. Going back to situational awareness, if you have a routine, know what normal is. More importantly, know what is different. If something feels different, figure out what that is. You feel it in your gut, something's changed. Start figuring that out, because it could be that different is a problem, and you want to know what this problem is before it becomes your problem. If something feels wrong, don't stick around to find out if you're right. I smell fresh cut grass, and I'm in the middle of the street where there's only construction going on and there's a bunch of people. This does not seem right. Something feels wrong about this. I'm going to find out what that smell is and start sniffing around to see if you can find out what the biohazard weapon is that's being deployed around you. Get out of there. Don't take chances with your own life and safety. If you become a victim, you can't help anybody else. Now, you can always go back in later if something felt wrong and you get out of there and you realize, oh, it's nothing. Turned out I was overreacting. Fine, you're alive. You can go back in. But if you're trying to figure out what feels wrong and you don't get out of there and it turns out you're actually right and something's very wrong, you could be dead. And then who are you going to help? Who's your family going to be mourning over? The slide originally said size up people as they approach. I changed this to size up people before they approach. Look around you. Identify the people around you. Identify, are they friend or foe? Are they threat or non-threat? Before they even approach you. That person seems off. They're wearing a trench coat and it's 105 degrees out. There's something wrong. This person's wearing a suit, but they've got ratty shoes on. They look jittery. They're looking around constantly. Their hands are in their pocket. Something doesn't seem right about this person. Oh, now they're approaching me. Am I going to stick around and find out if there's something really wrong with this person, if they're really a threat? No, I'm going to get out of there. I can always go back in later. But look around you. Make sure you identify if something doesn't seem right, if someone doesn't seem right, before they even become a threat to you. You want to watch hands and feet. Feet show intention. They're walking with a purpose. They're heading in a direction. They're standing and talking. Their feet are facing you. Their feet are facing a different direction. And even though they're talking to someone, their feet are facing you. Why is that? If they're talking to someone and they're really intent on that person, their feet will be facing that person. Their feet are facing me, but they're talking to someone. Something's wrong here. It's not normal. Why are their hands in their pocket? I can't see what they're holding. Or their hands are behind them or under their jacket or something. They've got a backpack on and I can't see one of their hands. I don't know if they're holding a weapon. I don't know if they have something hidden there. And if they suddenly come at me, I want to know what's in their hands. If they're holding flowers, probably not a threat. They're holding something else, a knife or something worse. I want to know this ahead of time. I want to identify the people who seem untrustworthy, someone who could possibly be a threat before they become a threat. Look at hands and feet. There are two most dangerous people in the world. Someone who has nothing to lose and someone who's equally as dangerous, someone who has everything to lose. Someone who has nothing to lose doesn't fear consequence. Unfortunately, you see people who they intend to, let's face it, they intend to be suicide by cop. They're going to not survive this. They know this. They will do anything. They are capable of anything. They are capable of causing mass destruction because they know they're not going to make it out alive. And that's the plan. The people who have everything to lose, if you threaten them and you threaten to put them in jail, reveal their secret, ruin their marriage, they might do anything and everything to make sure that their secret never gets out. So pay attention to the people that you're dealing with and understand what they're capable of and why. Go back to Chin's point, this slide references something that was brought up earlier. Never stop learning. Well, this is a duplicate slide. That's why. Is Aaron here?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Aaron, you want to give this presentation, or this topic?
Sure. If you want to be somewhere tomorrow, you need to sacrifice today. And basically the concept comes up with the idea of that if you want to be prepared, or if you want to be in a place where you don't want to be vulnerable, you have to sacrifice the day, whether that be training, learning, or something. And honestly, anytime that you devote yourself to learn something brand new, you have to take away time from something. So, like, let's say the only day off that you have is Monday Night Football, but that will be the time that you're going to have to learn something new or to train on something. Or let's say if you have, you're going to meet up friends every weekend for a special get together, but you have that time instead of meeting them to do something important that's going to add value to yourself and to your community. That's what you want to do. And so that is the point, is that you have to sacrifice today to be where you want to be tomorrow. And that's the concept of what I came up with. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Aaron.
Mhm.
This topic came up, especially as certain volunteers, those of us who are coordinators, those of us on the call-out team, dress in a uniform. The concept of being professional. One of our previous captains actually said that CERT is a professional organization. And what he meant by that, and what that is, we're not paid. Being professional has nothing to do with being paid. If you look at someone who's professional, you look at a firefighter, you look at a police officer, they look the part. They look like they know what they're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are the best person to do it and that they're capable of doing it. It means that they look the part. And so if you're going to be professional, you're going to want to look the part, because if you don't look the part, it doesn't matter how good your skills are, how capable you are, people won't believe you. They won't trust you if you don't look like you know what you're doing. The second part from that same captain was look good, feel good. So it's important to take pride in your appearance, because if you feel confident that you look professional, that you look well put together, like you look like you know what you're doing, it's going to improve your confidence. Combine that with competency. You're competent in your skills and you look professional, you look good, you're going to feel good. And that goes to your performance, because if you don't feel like you belong, it doesn't matter how good your skills are, it's going to impact you. Look good, feel good, be good. As part of that, take care of your health. A healthy person can have a million dreams, and that is great. You have ambitions, you have things you want to do in your life, and possibly the skills and means to do it. But a sick person only has one dream, and that's to get better. So if you take care of yourself, then you can do the things you want to do. But if you abuse things, you eat poorly, you make bad life decisions, and you're not healthy, it's very difficult to accomplish the things that you want to do in life. This is kind of an interesting topic. The idea of excuse me, the idea of someone selling themselves can mean multiple things, but the reality is that we all sell ourselves. We all put on a front. We all put on a face. We all train to do skills and learn how to perform and look professional and do things. We're selling an image. If we're good at our skills, we look the part, we look professional, we look healthy, people are going to respect us and think that we know what we're doing, even if we don't. What you want to be careful of are people who oversell themselves. You hear this over and over again. I talk to people and they say, "Oh, I'm this, I have all these experiences and skills, and I'm the best and the greatest." We had someone sign up. I have them rate themselves at a drill in radio communications, search and rescue, how well they can scribe, and someone wrote all fives. The rating is out of 5. No, no one's perfect. And the fact that they put all fives immediately was a red flag to me. And so be careful about people who talk a big game. There's a great line from Fear the Walking Dead. One of the characters was being interrogated by someone, and that person said, "I'm a very dangerous person. You should fear me." And the character said, "I've met a lot of dangerous people in my life. The one thing they all had in common was they didn't have to tell me they were dangerous." So if someone tries to tell you how great they are, question whether or not that's true. Might not be. At the same time, be kind, be polite, be respectful. Maybe this person is as great as they say they are, and they just have a big ego. Maybe not. Who knows? But don't, you don't need to be rude to people. You don't need to put people down. When I go to a restaurant and a waiter, takes my order, serves me, drink and food and dessert, I can cook my own food. I can make my own meal. I'm there because I don't want to. Why would I look down upon the person who's doing a service for me that I can do for myself when that's what I'm paying them for? That's why they're there. They're doing something for me that so I don't have to. It doesn't hurt to treat people with respect. Sometimes you're going to encounter these people again, and people will remember who is respectful for them, but they're especially going to remember who's rude to them. And suddenly you encounter this person again, and now, they were a waiter at a restaurant and they were in college. You were rude to them. You wrote, get a job, get a real job instead of leaving them a tip. And, they graduated college, they got an internship somewhere, and suddenly they're the CEO of a company and you're interviewing for a job with them. They're going to remember you. You could have been respectful for them. You could have been respectful to them. You could have been nice to them. You could have treated them like a human being, and you didn't. And now it's going to come bite you back. And, on that same topic, everyone contributes something. Janitor at the company. Why look down at them? They're cleaning up, so you don't have to. They're contributing something. Someone who is in a wheelchair comes to your team, wants to help out. Are you going to look at them and say, "Oh, you don't belong here. You're not able-bodied"? No. Find something that they can do because they can do something. Give them a radio. Give them a clipboard. Say, "Hey, I need you here. I don't need you, necessarily rolling down the street and cribbing and fighting fires, but there's a lot of things you can do, and this is where I need you because I need someone in that role, and you're perfect for it." Also, going back to Jose's topic, which he, wasn't here for, knowing your own limitations, fill your team with people who are good at what you're not good at doing. Because if you can't do it well and they can, then you have a strong team, and vice versa. Diversity is good. This is an interesting topic. This has come up a lot, even more recently, unfortunately. But if you fill your team with people who are different than you, they think differently than you come up to a scenario and you've got a problem, they have a different perspective on things. And you're going at it, and if you're all the same, you had all the same experiences, you have the exact same life, and you can't figure it out, chances are the people who had the exact same experience and training as you also are not going to be able to figure it out. But someone who comes at it from a different angle, different experiences, different skill set, they're diverse, they're different than you. They're going to come up with a creative solution that you can't come up with on your own. If everyone thinks the same way, no one's going to come up with a new idea. So we want to embrace diversity. embrace people who are different than you. Pat, are you on? Okay, he's not. This goes back to respect. A lot of times, people who want to be in a leadership role, they talk down to people. They talk at people. They say, "You're going to listen to me because I'm in charge. I'm the leader." That is not a healthy way of doing things and can often backfire on you. You want to talk to people. You want to talk with people. You want to treat them with respect. Treat everyone like a human being. If you're talking at people, they're going to be less inclined to help you when you need them because you're not respecting them as a human being. One of our emergency medical responder classes, the instructor pointed out, as he was showing some videos, it's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from the mistakes of others. And I've wrestled with this. There's a saying that when you don't want to correct people in public, correct them in private. I wrestled with this because sometimes, and so you don't want to point out the mistake that someone made specifically. You made this mistake and you embarrassed yourself, and this is how this should have been done. It ruins their self-esteem. You called them out in front of everybody, and you might lose them as a volunteer, or even as a friend. I've seen this happen, and I felt I didn't want to be there. Hey everyone. Hey, so hold on. This is the scenario that's going on. What do you all think about this, and how do we do this differently? Was this you need to come up with this on your own, and there's different ways to do this. I probably am not great at it, because of the way I've approached it in the past. I want to flesh out the mistake so that everyone can learn from it, but not embarrass the person that made the mistake. Because if you make the mistake, you don't want to get called out for it. But everyone should learn from the mistake. And so burying the mistake is not a great way to do it, but also admonishing someone for making the mistake is even a worse way to do it. Learn from your mistakes. Find out what went wrong when other people did it so that you don't make the same mistake yourself. Failure's an issue. And there's a culture that we have where failure is punished. Someone fails to do something or is responsible for the people who failed to do something, and someone has to be blamed for it. There is a bad arrest. It goes wrong, and everyone wants to fire the chief of police for something that his officers or her officers did. Well, certainly that chief of police doesn't want the same problem to happen again and wants to put things in place to fix it. Failure teaches us what went wrong and how we can, and then you have to fix the problem, because there will be problems, there will be failures. We need to learn from them. But we don't want to blame the people who can fix the problem because we want to blame someone. We don't want to punish the people who are in the position to fix it because the next person who comes in wasn't there necessarily and they don't know how to fix it. We want to train and we want to practice and we want to take risks. But if the risk is we're going to get punished for failing, we're never going to want a failure. We're never going to want to take risks. So why would you ever do something that is even slightly risky if you know you could get fired for it? How are you going to grow your company if you're never going to take chances? the reason why we train in CERT, in medical, in radio, in whatever, is so that we can practice new skills, things that we're not necessarily comfortable for. If I'm an expert at something, do I need to keep practicing it? Yeah, maybe. But if there's never a chance I'm going to learn something new or fail at something, am I going to learn something from this training? Take chances. If you're in a drill or a practice and you have the opportunity to do something that you're not comfortable doing, that's the chance, that's the time to take the chance to risk failure. You've never been a team leader before. You're given the opportunity to do so. Oh, I'm not comfortable doing that. No. Say yes. I may fail at it, but I'm going to learn from my failure. I may succeed at it, and I'm going to become stronger for it. Always learn from your mistakes. Always learn from the mistakes of others. Take chances. Take risks. Failure teaches us much more than success does, because that did not go right. That went horribly wrong. I now know not to do that again. I do it the same way over and over again, and now I'm in a different scenario. Well, I've always done it the same way, but this situation is different, and it's life or death now. Well, I didn't think about it. I didn't plan for what could have happened, what could be different, and now's the first time I'm dealing with this, and it's life or death. Now I risk failure, and failure could mean someone else gets hurt. Practice, practice, drill, take risks during drills, take risks during practice. Doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. Unfortunately, it's also what most people are comfortable doing. I've seen this over and over again. Hey, this isn't working. Why do you keep doing the same thing? Why not try something new? Well, I don't know how to do it any other way. Well, the way you're doing it isn't working, but you keep doing it. Try something new. Take risks. Take chances. And call people out, too. Don't let them be complacent. Unknown is scary. Complacency is even more terrifying. See how all this stuff ties back together? Just complaining about an email I got about a situation that was different than how it's been done before, and I immediately saw some flaws in it. Person said, "Worry is the waste of imagination." So I stole this from him. It is. I'm thinking about all the ways that something go wrong when I could be thinking of solutions. A waste of my imagination, worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. I mentioned navigation systems, being a great asset, but also maybe not. Maybe, hey, this thing's telling me to take surface all the way back. Freeway is going to be much faster. Get on the freeway. Huh, sure enough, it updates and tells me that it's actually 7 minutes faster than the way it was going to send me. That happened a few weeks ago. Technology is great till it doesn't work. Wi-Fi is wonderful till your Wi-Fi doesn't work. Then it sucks. Don't become complacent and rely on technology because technology breaks. If your entire life is on your cell phone and you lose your cell phone and you can't survive without your cell phone, you don't know how to call anybody, you don't know anybody's numbers. I say this now realizing that I don't know anybody's numbers, but I have backups. I can restore my phone and the content somewhere else. Don't rely on technology 100%. Learn to use it. It's a tool. It's a tool like anything else. It shouldn't be your all and everything. Measure twice, cut once. You've heard this saying before, but it applies in so much more than just carpentry. Yeah, I'm going to measure this, and then I'm going to cut, and something was wrong with my first measurement, and now I need to cut again. Well, there's so many things in our lives that, take the time to do it right. If it's important to you, don't rush it. Rushing is how accidents happen. Don't overthink it either, but take the time, make sure you get it right. And that way, if it's important to you, you've done everything you can to make sure that you did it correctly. Safety is everyone's responsibility. This is saying that we hear over and over again. The Community Emergency Response Team training teaches us how to be safe, how to not bring a victim to an incident. If you see somebody doing something unsafe and you care about this person or you care about the outcome, it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that everyone gets home safely. On that note, I've seen coordinators, CERT coordinators, yelling at each other, fighting over the correct way to do things, to the point where I was pretty sure that punches were going to get thrown. People are passionate. They have egos. If someone gets hurt, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Safety is everyone's responsibility. And if you're pointing fingers at each other and you're focused on why your ego is more important than someone else's and why your ideas are better than someone else's, and you're not taking someone's opinion, and your patient dies because no one's treating them, because you spent 10 minutes arguing about what the best course of action is, it doesn't matter who is right or wrong. Annalise, are you here? Nope. They sent me topics and they don't show up for the meeting. All right, cool. One of our potential coordinators suggested carry a spare coin-sized battery for your car key fob or garage door opener. Oftentimes these are coin-sized batteries, and if you have change on you, you can keep it with your spare change. My key fob for my car doesn't work. Well, I've got an extra one on me. Or I get home and my garage door doesn't work. I've got an extra battery. Not a bad idea. Doesn't take up much space. Yeah, the short circuit thing, I don't know that a coin-sized battery will short circuit in coins. However, I did have a 9-volt battery that I threw in my pocket, and it did actually start to heat up in my pocket because there happened to be change in there that connected the circuits. I think it's going to be very difficult to manage to connect the positive and negatives. I could be wrong on a coin-sized battery, but we can discuss that later. Vincent, are you here?
Vincent is here, I believe.
Possibly in the restroom. Probably in the restroom. Or maybe on the Battalion 4 radio net.
You guys
Right.
drank a lot of coffee, always in the bathroom?
Apparently.
All right, smart ass.
Hey, that was one of my slides, was always use the restroom when you have the opportunity to. So, good leaders listen. They don't tell everybody what to do. They listen to the people they're leading and take feedback, take into account experiences, listen to their feedback, and then they make a decision. That's the most important thing a leader can do, is make a decision. And so you really want to, if you're going to be a leader, learn how to be a follower first. Learn how to be a listener. Work with your team. You're not the boss. You might be in charge. Your job is to make sure everyone makes it home safely, but you're not the boss of everyone, especially volunteers. If you start bossing people around like you're paying them and you're not, they're going to walk away. Or worse. We've seen, I was pretty sure that one team was going to tar and feather their team leader, who was barking orders like he was a drill sergeant. So just keep that in mind. If you want to be a leader, make sure that you're listening to your team and not ordering them around without any regard for their feedback. We talk about options. We talked about playing that game. What's the plan? What am I going to do if this happens? Have multiple plans if you can. If plan A doesn't work, go to plan B. If plan B doesn't work, go to plan C. If plan C doesn't work, go to plan D. If you need to come up with new plans after plan C and D, do so. But keep trying. Giving up could be a plan. Might not be the best one. But certainly if plan A doesn't work and you give up, I'm going to try plan B or come up with plan B. How does that help anybody? Come on, Vincent. Put a bunch of your slides together at the same time. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Jose actually sent a very similar slide, and I chose Vincent's over Jose's. Sorry about that, Jose.
Okay.
But don't be afraid to ask for help, especially if you're in a team. You have people around you who have experience, especially if it's a diverse team. You have people with different experiences. If you're the leader, don't think it's all on you, and don't disregard your team's collective experience. Ask for help. If you're trying something new for the first time, look to the professionals. Look to the people who've done this before. Ask them. A lot of times you'll find people are very willing to help you. But I mentioned ego quite a few times. A lot of times our ego doesn't allow us to A, fail, or B, ask for help. What's the joke about men not asking for directions? I have no problem asking for directions. Hey, Google, get here. But it's a great opportunity because, hey, you might meet someone new and start a conversation and meet a new friend. You ask for help. Hey, Jose, there you are. You're muted, Jose.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to unmute. Yeah, that's one of the first mistakes I made, when I first became a CERT member. I thought every little gadget was going to help, and I ended up with stuff that I didn't need. I ended up donating it or selling it, so make sure you get equipment that you're actually going to use for CERT or for, evacuation, whatever, but don't stockpile stuff that you're never going to use. It's very important to do that. My daughters always ask me, what's this for? What's that for? Because I have 3 backpacks, for one for the car, one for, the call out team, that kind of stuff, and one for exercises, so I explained to them that I have different things in all of them. It's not all the same. So, those are the type of things that you really have to think about, because you can go on SOS and, oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. So you got to be careful what you buy and how much you buy it. Radios is an example. I went down the rabbit hole on that one. I have about I have about 5 or 6 different radios. They all do the same thing. Ham radios, GMRS radios, FRS radios. So those are the things you have to really pay attention to.
I wish I only had 5 or 6 radios, backpacks, knives, other things.
Well, knives is a different subject. Don't get me going on that.
This backpack isn't perfect.
Yeah.
One might be. Nah, I'm still gonna have
Flashlights
to.
is another one.
Oh yeah,
Oh
flashlight.
yeah. Flashlights. Yeah, I got about 5 or 6.
I wish I knew 5 or 6. And I carry one,
Yeah.
only one. And I'm always looking for a better flashlight. And then,
Well, I found one that recharges, so I like that one. So the rest of them are in storage. Actually, I gave them to my daughters. So here, put it in your go bag. So
Benny G, are you on?
I am, Patrick.
Mhm.
Thank you. This is something I think I did learn from you, actually, Patrick. The flashlights that I have for emergencies, and I have one of, I carry one on my keychain that's got a battery in it. But the ones that I have for, emergencies and such, I do not put the batteries in, because as soon as the batteries go in the flashlight, they're going to start to drain. And then when you need it 2 years down the road, it'll be dead. So what I do is I take some good old, I guess, painter's blue tape, and I tape the batteries on the outside so that they're there, ready to go. And I have to look for batteries. They're all right there with my flashlights. And I think the batteries, when they're not used, when they're outside, they'll last for a few years. Patrick, you probably have a better idea of how long a battery will last. But I gave some.
The alkaline batteries actually start to discharge once you use them. So even if you put them in once, they'll start to discharge. Now they'll, of course, discharge faster or they'll leach if they're in the flashlight. But the best thing is leave them in the original package and not opened, and that way they're guaranteed for their shelf life.
And thank you, Patrick. And I gave some emergency flashlights to like my daughter, and same thing, batteries with the batteries, but outside, not in. So just a good way to make sure your flashlights are ready to go when you need them. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Ben. Did we lose Chin?
No, you didn't lose me. I'm too ornery for that. This is something that, and we've talked about it. It's been talked about here just not long ago. Carry only what you need. Jose actually stated just a few minutes ago, as CERT members, we get so excited, we start buying everything. But we also think that, it's like, let me put everything into my backpack. And recently at our refreshers, our NTP pop-ups and everything, and I see it consistently, there's that member, there's those 2 members, there's actually that whole group of members who are getting ready to deploy out. They're going to walk about a mile, and they've got backpacks the size of like God knows what. And I'm like, wow. And at one of the recent refreshers, I said, let me see what that backpack feels like. And it was probably about easily over 20 pounds. What we have to understand is carry only what we need. We might want to carry everything in the world. You can't do that. Carry the essentials, your basic PPEs, your gloves, your goggles, pens, paper, flashlights, radios, just the things that we have talked about here. And maybe 1 or 2 things like your gas shutoff tool or whatever. Carry the basics. If you have space for your medical kit, and that's kind of a little bit of your specialty, see if you can fit that in there or carry a separate bag. But understand that carrying everything, it's just going to make your life out in the field difficult. And you're gonna wreck yourself. You're gonna wreck your health. And remember, we just said here, your health is everything. So if you end up whacking your back or something like that, you haven't done yourself any good. You haven't done the team any good, because if you're out there and you're carrying a backpack that's 20 pounds and you're walking a mile, and you have to either stop or you have to say, hey guys, I just can't make it. Because a lot of us here are either older, we don't work out a lot, different things like that, or our PT, our physical training, is just not up to speed. Keep your life simple. In those backpacks, carry only what you need.
Thanks, Chin. And people ask me, oh, there's a class that you're putting on, or a meeting or something. Should I bring my bag? I said, yes, bring it, because you should see if you can carry it, how heavy it is. Is this something you take it into a classroom just for a meeting? You don't need the bag, but just taking it out of the car and bringing it into the room, you're regretting life. Your backpack's a little too heavy. So always bring your stuff with you because you never know when you're going to need it. But it's also a good idea to find out, is this something I can walk a mile with? Is this too much? What can I take out? What don't I need in here? Or if you want to, someone said their rucksack is 90 pounds. Hey, it's extra exercise, right? So this one's an interesting one. I really liked it. Being part of the team, the original slide he sent was don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't say I'm only going to do this. This is all I'm going to do. I was at a refresher and I had put together this awesome vest full of medical supplies. And we went to the refresher, and it was the first thing I took part in was utility shut off. And the captain looks at me and goes, "Do you have your utility shut off tool?" No. I'm kitted up for medical. That doesn't directly apply, but it does. Remember that part of what we learn is how to be versatile, how we can do a lot of different skills because you never know what you're going to need to do. And so when you're on a team, the team's mission should come second to team safety, of course. Everyone needs to make it home safely, but you have a job to do. And if you're told, hey, we need you to do this, it's not because you look like, we want to punish you. It's because we need you to do this because all the other team members are doing something else. And we need to get this mission done. So if you refuse to do something you're not familiar with, you put the team's mission at risk. This goes back to training. We had this a few slides ago. Practice. Take opportunities in training to do things that are unfamiliar so that when you're told, hey, I need you to start doing CPR on this person, you're like, okay, I did first aid CPR AED. I know what to do. I'm going to get on there and do a good job because I'm competent at my skills. And I'm confident that I'm going to do a good job. Someone says, I need you to hold C-spine. You know what that is. I need you to turn off the gas. You know how to do that. I need you to get on the radio, call up Jose, and tell him to come back and read a slide. You know how to do that. I need you to be a scribe. I will admit my weakness, my limitation is I have horrible handwriting. You don't want me to be the scribe. If I need to, because that everyone else is deployed and you need to have these notes taken, that's what I will do. Because we need to get the job done. It's being part of the team. It's being a team player. It's not, I will only do this because this is all I want to do. And that's one of the things, one of the CERT forms, I hate it because it asks, what do you want to do? You want to do fire suppression? You want to do medical? You want to do search and rescue? I don't care what you want to do. I want to know what you're good at. I want to know where your skills are because then I can put you where I need you to be. We're not fighting fires here. We're not the fire department. I don't care if you want to do fire suppression. We have people who are down and they need help. Do you have first aid skills? If not, are you good at taking notes? Because someone else can do the first aid skills and you can document.
Patrick, may I tack on to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to tack on to the point of us, saying, hey, I want to do fill in the blank. I want to do medical or I want to do just search and rescue. With our call out team, We have a number of things that we do on a regular basis: firefighter hydration rehab, outreach, wires down, all that kind of stuff. It was asked some time ago to one of our captains, well, hey, I just want to do firefighter rehab and hydration. Why do I have to sit here and hear this rap about outreach, wires down, and everything else? And other people said, hey, I want to do outreach only. Why do I have to hear this rap about firefighter hydration and rehab? The answer our captain gave, Captain Wire Eater at the time, is he said, when you are a firefighter and you come on the job, you may end up at some point in your career being a public information officer, a paramedic captain, or whatever it is. He said, but you start out as a firefighter like everybody else. You learn how to put out a fire, you learn how to put out a different bunch of skills. And because if something truly goes down, and you might not need a whole group of public information officers. You might not need a whole group of paramedic captains or whatever. You may need firefighters. They have to be able to come back and do all of those jobs. And it's like Patrick is saying, we have to be able to adjust and do pretty much almost everything that's out there. That makes us an incredibly valuable asset to our team. May not be something that we want to do, but it is something that is needed at the time. Patrick, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jen.
Patrick.
Yeah.
This is Mark.
Mark.
Earlier, you just recently you were saying, take only what you need, but then almost right after that, you covered to be ready for anything, which is also, what I learned in Scouts many years ago: be prepared. So my tendency is to bring everything because I don't know what I'm going to need. For example, you gave the example of not carrying or having the utility shutoff tool, when you needed it. Well, again, that's carry everything, bring everything. No?
It is the catch-22. If you have everything, you'll have the tool you need when you need it. But if you bring everything that you never need, the kitchen sink, the proverbial kitchen sink, you're putting yourself at risk. So that's why I recommend people bring their bags to every single drill, because you start to learn what you need. Learn what you're not using and what you can take out of your bag. And that's also where, coming with a team, learn each other's skills and weaknesses. And it's a difficult thing to do because there are some things that can be used for multiple purposes. But I also like to say, use the right tool for the right purpose. But it is a balancing act. And it's something that everyone has to figure out on their own. But that's why you come to drills and you come to practices and you put yourself and take opportunities to try new things and learn what doesn't work and what does work for you. All right, Kevin.
Hello.
There you go.
So one of the things that over the years that I've heard from firefighters and everything else is when we all go into after an earthquake, you go into a building. One of the first things you want to do is make sure that you have an escape plan going in. Okay. That may include, the way you came in, but if that for some reason that route is not available, you may have to find a different way out. One of the things that I carry on my keychain, on my pack, and a lot of people always laugh when they see it. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm actually going to share.
Put it in front of your face.
It's called a Wedget. All right. And what it does, it allows you to.
Can you show it again? Put it in front of your hand.
I'm actually going to share a screen shot real quick. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Let's see. You got to unlock it. So let's see.
I see you, Kevin.
Okay, here it is. So if you look, it's called a wedget. You can put it over a hinge. So this is before it goes over the hinge. When it's sitting on the hinge, the door will not close all the way. Okay. Another place you can use it is at the top of the door, and you just actually set it on top of the door, and it keeps the door from closing in the door frame. And the least favorable method is actually wedging it under the door here. The reason it's not best to wedge it under the door is if people don't see it and they go walking by, they'll kick it. Okay. And now you're not stopping the door. The best is hanging anything that you can hang over a hinge or over the top of the door, because it keeps the door from coming closed. And after that, after an aftershock, you may not be able to, that door may not open again. So you definitely do not want a door to ever close behind you. If you ever talk to a firefighter, when they go in on a fire, they prop every door going in. So if they've got to get out fast, they're running straight back out the way they came in. So that's one of the things that really is important for people to know. In a normal house, you may have a normal house has about up to 4 doors to get in. Your entry door, a hallway door, a stairwell door, and a room door. You don't need to prop every room door open, just the one you're going into. Once you're done, you can leave it open, you can leave it closed, whatever you want. Just keep track of where you've been. Traditionally, when you're doing searches, you kind of wanted to go like what we'd say a right wall or a left wall search. So you're never actually hitting the same place twice.
Thanks, Kevin. Now I have to reshare my screen. Thanks, Kevin.
May I add to it for a second?
Go ahead.
So one of the things that everybody was talking about, like being prepared or over prepared, I, especially when it comes to CERT events, I try to find out what's going on and take according to that event. At least in that meantime, like if we're talking real world, take all that you think that you need to take with you. But I am not one of those people that can have like 5 different bags and they are dedicated for whatever they're dedicated for. So what I do is I create, I don't know if it's going to make any kind of sense, but I create these, they did this for women a long time ago for purses when they created this like thing where you could store everything in there and put it in the purse that you so desire. I do the same method when it comes to backpacks with CERT. You know, like, and then so I have these dedicated roles, if you will, that one could be medical. One is specifically, you know, like on-field medical stuff or anything like that. So that is what I do when I carry it into most of these events. Because, you know, I am aware of what I can carry and what I cannot. And, you know, especially for the training sessions, that's what I carry. And of course, it is recommended, like you were saying earlier, like if you actually want to see what your how you can handle your stuff, take it for a field run in those things. And that is what I do when I come with preparedness. I do take a flashlight. I do take a pocket knife. My other thing, and I would say this specifically for the women, carry the stuff that you know that you'll need that's not easily accessible to you, because the last thing we think of is our is hygiene. I've noticed, so keep that in mind too. That's my thing. Sorry.
Thanks, Isabel. All right, and our last tip, trick.
Oh wow! I got the last one.
Get the last one. Make it good.
Woohoo! I get the last word finally. Kidding, everybody. But this is really a critical note. Adapt, improvise, and overcome. This is something I've learned in a long time of being around first responders. And it is something we need to learn as certs. In cert, as we've said here, we love to train, we love to continue learning, we love to continue doing all of those things to grow our knowledge base. But one of the things that we sometimes have a real problem doing is adapting to the situations we're in or changing our modes of thinking. I'll give you a couple of examples that might be fun and useful. Recently, we did an outreach session at one of our local churches here in West Adams. Freddie Muse, who is with me here tonight, will know which one that was. That was something that we did a few weeks ago. We did some demonstrations over the course of our time there. We were a kind of a main event there. So we had a chance to get our people out to demonstrate some different things like hands-only CPR and all that kind of stuff. We were doing, interestingly enough, a patient movement assessment. And one of the things that we had someone laying down, and we looked at the group and said, "Hey, how are you going to move these people?" Nobody had a gear bag or anything like that. There was none of those beautiful fabric stretchers there. What you going to do? Everybody's kind of looking at each other, and Yukiko Bryant, who was instructing that day, and we looked at the same thing. We looked at what was around the room, and what did we have? We had heavy-duty curtains that were on those windows, and we told these guys, if you don't have a stretcher or something like that, go for those curtains. Find a shower curtain or something like that also. You might even yank a door off of its hinges, depending on how bad the situation is. But you have to adapt to your situation. Sometimes we get very caught up in having all the equipment. This goes back to probably some of our talks about having a million things in your bag, things you wish you had, but you can't sometimes carry. You have to adapt. You have to improvise, come up with ideas to make the same thing happen because you usually don't have a lot of time. Got to move somebody. And if you're able to adapt and improvise, you can overcome that shortfall that you have, whether it's equipment or anything. We also have to adapt and improvise in our thinking with our training. We give you a guideline. We're all given a guideline as, hey, this is how something should happen. But sometimes the situation you're in will dictate doing some things differently. An example, years ago, I was at a refresher in our South Bureau refresher. This was very early on. I may have been with CERT for about a year at best. I was put in with another fella in a situation where we were inside a building that was slightly compromised. And Captain Wynn was with us at the time, and he's calling out this whole situation. He's like, "You're in this room. The room is you're hearing little cracks and creaks and everything like that." And there was a young fella laying on this stage. His head is kind of twisted a little bit. The situation was that he had a possible spinal injury, couldn't move. And my partner and I, who were there that day, my idea was to scoop that guy up and get him out of that building because Captain Wynn kept saying, "Yeah, you're hearing those creaks and they're getting a little bit bigger." My partner decided to argue about it. He says, "You can't move this person. They have a neck injury. You could damage them." And I'm arguing back with him saying, "We just got to get out of here. We got to take that chance." So the minutes expired and the captain said, "You're both dead and your patient's dead." A lot of you guys might think that's silly, but that's a situation that happened. And he told the fella, he said, "You got to adjust to that situation." It's like, yes, in a perfect situation, you don't move that person, but in that situation, get them out of there. And it's funny because I don't know whether the guy took it personally or whatever. I've seen him once or twice in the last few years, but he's never spoken to me again. He didn't speak to me that day, but those couple of situations are just a few of the many situations and whatnot that we're going to run into. So don't get so locked into your training or locked into one mindset that you can't adapt to that situation, improvise something, and overcome it. Patrick.
Thank you, Chin. That really brings us back to the first couple of slides where you want to have options. You want to come up with options. You want to find your options. And if you don't have options, you want to create options. But also have a plan and think about, okay, if I'm in this room and there's an earthquake and somebody gets injured, I don't have my bag with me. How are we going to get this person out of here? Play that game. Play the game with people. If you're bored, you got nothing else to do, let's play this game. You know, hey, here's the scenario. How do we do this? What do we have around us? What can we use to create options so that we can get out of here and save someone's life? All right. So let's see how this works. A lot of you, there's 78 of us on, probably also have great tips and tricks. And I noticed that that T should be capitalized. What are yours? Go ahead and raise your hand. So go ahead and give your tip and trick, but let's try and keep it under 3 minutes of explanation. Let's see if we can do this. All right, go ahead and raise your hand. Oh, Carolyn. Carolyn, go ahead. What is your tip or trick? And or trick?
Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I was just talking away. It's talking about having too many flashlights, but I have a flashlight and a whistle in every room of my house. So no matter where I happen to be, if I get stuck somewhere, I have a way, a means of if it's dark to see where I'm going, and if I'm trapped to signal for help. I just think that when I go out, I always carry one flashlight with me. But in my house, I've got a flashlight in every single room in my house and a whistle attached to it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, the second one was about your personal first aid kit. I put it in there, but everybody should have their own personal first aid kit because you have stuff in it like any medications you might be taking or anything that specifically that you might need that somebody else might not have in their first aid kit. And if you get injured, you want to make sure you have what you need that somebody can treat you, even if they don't have what you need.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carolyn. All right, Rostelov?
You can call me Ross. It's much easier to pronounce. Well, I have a couple of tricks, but some of them may come off a bit militant because let's just say I'm a bit of safety conscious person, if you know what I mean. Well, first of all, when it comes to like the battery storage, even the button ones, I seriously recommend doing, well, it's for those people who have the food saver, the vacuum bags. Because, you know, one of the biggest problems is you have to remove the oxygen from the battery to stop it from discharging. This way it works. You just pile up several batteries, suck out the oxygen, and, you know, the bag is not usually big enough because, you know, you cut it to whatever sizes you need. And you can have them forever. Same applies for the ammo, by the way. Same idea, because no matter whether it's wet, dry, whatever, stay safe forever. Also, in terms of like first aid situations, I seriously recommend people look into the liquid bandages, because oftentimes you cannot carry with you the bag of Band-Aids because, you know, you have different injuries. Some are bigger, some are smaller. Liquid stuff, as long as you have the bottle, you can pretty much cover the whole person if you need to. And they come both in the paint variety and aerosol. So if somebody is like covered in scrapes from like the glass or whatever, you can just literally spray the guy down, and, you know, it's both antiseptic and protective.
Yeah.
And the final idea is, as I was saying, because, you know, during like after earthquake or any kind of serious situation, let's just say law and order kind of goes out the window. So I would really recommend that any kind of team has at least one person who is certified to carry. You know, it's not exactly like the must, but it helps just in case.
Yeah,
You mean carry a firearm?
It's outside of the scope of our
No, I understand. I'm just saying because oftentimes just telling people to calm down and go away doesn't work. Sometimes you do have to take a bit stronger step. I'm not saying shoot anybody, but even showing people that
That's outside the scope of this.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of the food saver, the vacuum seal. You can also vacuum seal a medical kit.
Yeah, that's
and
what
it
I do.
takes a lot of the air out and a lot of the space that air takes up.
Yeah, especially with gauzes and whatever cotton balls, because a lot of the volume they take up is air.
And then what you do is you just cut along the corner on each side with a pair of scissors, and that way you can quickly rip it open if you need to.
Exactly.
And I was thinking for the battery, the coin battery, you can use painter's tape and actually just cover both sides of the battery with
Yeah,
painter's tape.
absolutely.
And that
But
way
it just
won't.
if you just take the coin battery, just toss it with your change, it will short because it's metal on metal on metal.
Yeah. All right. Thanks,
Thanks.
Ross. Daryl.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Daryl?
Am I unmuted?
You're muffled pretty badly.
How's that? Is that clearer?
That's better.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, I switched to the this microphone. All right, so what I was wanted to just chime in on, and let me lower my hand, is that the catch-22 of bring everything, but bring only what you're going to use. And what I wanted to say about that is that what the first thing you're going to do as a CERT member in a disaster, you're going to go to your staging area. All right. And this is where you're going to be carrying your backpack to. I would recommend, just from where I stand, bring your backpack that has everything in it, and all your tools, all your gear, your medical resupply, your radio, everything to the staging area. Now, at the staging area, you're going to get sorted out. You're going to be given tasks. And one of the tasks that's going to happen is that you're going to be assigned to a team. Now, what's going to happen there, like let's say a damage assessment team, just as an example. On the damage assessment team, you don't need all the members of the team to be carrying a utility shutoff tool. One needs to carry it. The others, keep it in your backpack back at the staging area, or keep it with your jacket, your other gear at the staging area. Everybody doesn't need to have a radio. You need to have 2 radios. You don't need to have 3 or 4. Similarly, again, not everybody needs to be carrying their full first aid kit. You should definitely have one, maybe a second one if you expect to see a lot of injuries, but not everybody needs to be carrying everything. So what the damage assessment team should do as part of their formation, who's doing what? Oh, you're the scribe. You're the radio operator. Great. Okay. And on the basis of how strong people are, how fit people are, how much weight they can carry, and how comfortable they are, you can assign you carry the utility shutoff tool. You carry this. You carry that. And divide the load among the team members that are forming that damage assessment team. Everything that they're not going to be using in their role on that team should be left at the staging area. Because remember, that team is going to go out. They're going to come back. They're going to split up. They're going to reform into different teams. There could be an emergency response team. There can be all sorts of things that happen over the course of that disaster, and many roles they fill over the course of the day. And they can constantly be pulling from their supplies as need be. And at the end of the day, they'll take it all home with them. But, we shouldn't necessarily think, do you have to walk miles with all your gear on your backpack? You don't. You just have to get to the staging area. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of, this is practice. This is why we train. This is why we want to practice setting up the staging area, getting to know what we have, what we bring, getting to know our teams. And that way we can coordinate this kind of stuff and make it flow, because you also don't want to spend half an hour trying to figure this stuff out and who's getting what and what's everybody got and doing show and tell while, people are dying out there. So practice, 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 bring your bags, get to know your team, and but great idea, Daryl. Terry, go ahead. And unmute yourself and
okay. You can hear me?
Yes,
okay.
we can.
A couple of ideas. Oops, sorry. I went to my eye doctor and I wear reading glasses. And I was telling him, I go, oh my God, I'm always looking for my reading glasses. Did I lose you guys?
We're still
No,
here.
no, we can hear you just
Oh,
fine.
okay. All of a sudden the screen went black. So anyways, he told me, he goes, well, just go to the 99-cent store or the Dollar Tree and get a bunch of reading glasses and put one in each room. And this is really a good idea because if you had an earthquake and you really need those reading glasses, no matter what room you're in, I even have them in the bathroom. You can grab your reading glasses because I am completely blind without them. And my son, he's almost legally blind without his glasses. And I was always worried when he was off in college and didn't live at home that if there was a big earthquake that he wouldn't have his glasses nearby. And so I always told him to have an extra set in his car. And then he always had his next to his bed to be able to grab them quickly. And the other thing is I have found having scissors like in your glove compartment or the console or something easy to get to when you're in your car. I can't tell you how many times I've needed scissors to open something, even if it's a string cheese that for whatever reason won't open. So just have a little tiny pair of scissors really comes in handy. Those
Yeah,
are my
those are great ideas. And you can put your glasses with your flashlight and whistle in every single room. So
Yeah.
you're doubly prepared. And
Pat,
I
can I
did
interject?
say,
Can I
sorry.
interject something?
Yeah, go ahead, Carolyn.
I wear my glasses around my neck. I have, those things you put on your glasses that you hang them around your neck.
Yeah.
And so everywhere in the room, everywhere I go in my house, I have them hung around my neck. So if I need them, because I just need them for reading too. So I just that's how I keep track of them. I do have some extra sets, but I always wear them around my neck. I put them on when I first get up in the morning, and everywhere I go, I have my glasses hanging around my neck. That's all.
And I mentioned earlier about having a blade with you, and a pair of scissors is a blade. So yes, definitely, you'll use something sharp more often than you won't. All right, Mark Rusky, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a contrarian. I'm always going to keep the batteries in the flashlight or device. I will worry about it not working because of leakage later. But if there's a blackout, the last thing I want to do is start fumbling with the batteries to try to get the thing to work when it's dark and I can't see which end of the battery is which, et cetera, et cetera. I want it to work now, not in a few minutes or later when I fumbled it and dropped it on the floor or God knows what. Second thing, I was told years ago by somebody in the insurance industry that people who back into parking places are either, I think I said it earlier wrong on the chat. It's not 40% higher rate of collisions, but maybe a 4 times, which happens to be about the same likelihood of being in an accident after drinking, more than, in other words, than people who are not inebriated. So if you're going to back into parking spots, you're 4 times more likely to be in a collision than somebody who does not do that. When you're pulling into a parking spot, you can see where you're going and exactly how close you are to the wall, to the next vehicles on either side of you or in front of you. If you're backing in, you just don't have quite the same ability to see that. When you're backing out later, you are not backing into a car that's right behind you. You're backing into an open space. You're more likely to do that safely. Anyway, that's so much for being a contrarian. I just wanted to point those 2 things out. Goodbye.
I actually would disagree with you because I have a backup camera on mine. I am actually, I find it's actually more difficult for me to pull straight in to a space than it is for me to back in because I can see everything. I have a truck, so I can't really see that well over the front of my truck versus that camera is going to show me everything. But be good at what you're doing. Be competent in your skills. If you're not good at backing up, practice. But yeah, you know, if you don't have a backup camera, it's risky for you to do this. Don't do it. Simple.
And Patrick, if I could just comment on the flashlight thing, I maybe it wasn't clear when I talked about batteries outside the flashlight. I carry a flashlight on me with the batteries in it, ready to go, working. You know, I have it by my nightstand, in my pocket, what have you. But in my emergency kits, which are things that I don't use every day, those are where I store them outside so that I know that those are fresh and ready to go in a situation where I'm going to need it for a long time, or what have you. So I'll have my pocket light to light up my work area, put the batteries in, and I'll be good to go with a more high-powered flashlight with the batteries outside.
Yeah, I agree there's merit both ways. I can tell you guys from experience, I've had a flashlight, a Maglite that was in my glove compartment, and didn't work. Tried to pull the back off, and had to get a vise and actually wrench the back of it off. It had completely corroded. The battery had swelled, was not going to come out, and I think they've got a lifetime warranty or something. But anyway, that was a Maglite that went in the trash can. So that's the risk of it leaking inside your device, radio or flashlight. It could destroy it. But also, yes, absolutely. It takes time to get the batteries in there. And there is certainly merit to having that flashlight ready to go. But it is one of those things, catch 22 there. If you never need the flashlight and then you need it and it's been 10 years and the batteries have completely corroded, not going to do you any good. But at the same time, if you're fumbling around trying to get their flashlight, get the batteries in there, yeah, it is definitely both ways. Thank you, Mark.
Has anyone bought those crank radios?
Yeah, those are great to have as well because
They have a light and a radio with them.
Yeah, they do have life certain because it's a battery.
They have to have a battery, right?
Well, it has a battery inside of it, so they'll only last for a certain number of years as well. But that is an option for sure. And generally, you can keep cranking as long as you can crank it. It will have some sort of power, but as soon as you stop cranking it, it may not last for much longer than that.
Patrick?
The new ones they're rechargeable.
Yeah. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say on those crank things, I learned this the hard way, that once you take it out of the package and crank it to see how it works and to make sure it works, at that point, it's probably only going to last you about a year because the batteries inside those are now going to deteriorate. And when you actually need it a year later, it probably won't hold a charge. I learned, and that's why I've also thrown away all of my rechargeable batteries. I don't want those in a real emergency, in an earthquake. I'm not going to count on there being an outlet in my house that I can plug into to recharge batteries. So I just want a lot of regular batteries around. And as I say, with the thing we were talking about with the flashlights again, yes, it can corrode. So in that case, maybe have more than one flashlight around. But if there's a blackout, I'm just going to be happy when I find the flashlight. At that point, I just want to turn it on and use it.
And this goes back to having options. One is none, two is one. So if you have two flashlights and one is corroded and one has batteries outside, you have a flashlight. If you have one flashlight and it's not usable because the batteries have corroded, you have zero flashlights.
And also, and the light sticks too. I just thought of that too.
Those also have everything has a certain
life.
Yeah.
Right.
But I like Carolyn's idea going back to having a flashlight in every single room. It's a great option.
I have three in my bedroom and two by the front door, and then I have a flashlight in every room.
I'd like to add to this. It's very easy. I have both ways. I have my flashlight with the batteries and the extra batteries next to it. So like that, my flashlight will have batteries, and I have replaceable batteries.
It's with those things. We live in Southern California and we are susceptible to disasters, but we don't get disasters. So it is very possible to have our disaster prepared stuff sit there for 10, 20 years. Well, if we never check on stuff and make sure that it's still good, replace the batteries, it will go bad. And then when we actually need it, it's useless. So if you're going to have batteries on there, swap them out every year. That way you always have fresh batteries in there and have an extra set ready. And then if you swap it out every year, they can't corrode. And well, there's a less chance of it corroding and ruining the device.
Well, actually, there was a firefighter. I don't remember. I think it was firefighter McKnight. He had mentioned that he checks his stuff twice a year, and how he does it is daylight savings time.
Yeah.
So that's every 6 months. So every daylight savings time is when he double checks his stuff. So if we could do, I mean, it's not like a set date, but when you know daylight savings time is happening, you could go ahead and check your stuff. So instead of leaving it for 10 years, you could probably try to check it twice a year at least.
And it doesn't look like they're going to get rid of daylight saving time anytime soon. All right.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
God.
Lisa Scott. Let's let Lisa.
Didn't we vote for it though?
Lisa, go ahead.
So first of all, thank you guys for this wonderful presentation. I mean, I have learned so much. And it's refreshed a lot of thoughts for me. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time. So a couple things that I've been thinking about. You know, I'm a former traffic school instructor, so I love talking about safe driving. And so I'll mention about the parking lot driving backwards in a minute. But, you know, the thing that when you started talking earlier about running late, you know, and gosh, that's pretty common for all of us here in LA. And, you know, I had to remind myself of this just the other day. You're running late, and you know how we do. We weave in and out of traffic, and we're passing and we're speeding and all that. And then we're stopped at a traffic light, a red light, and guess who pulls up right next to us and behind us and all around us? The cars we just passed. So, you know, there have been tests done, and I remember I used to teach this, like they've done tests where they've had people, you know, do all these maneuvers and all, and they end up shaving off about 2 minutes to their trip. And let's be honest, if we have an accident, even a fender bender, it's going to ruin our day. So it's just not worth it. And then the point I would make about the parking lot is I remember teaching about this, like, first of all, parking lots are extremely dangerous places, and it's just a place to be, you know, highly aware. It's, you know, turn the radio off, whatever, just be aware in a parking lot, especially this time of year. And then anytime you've got your car in reverse, that's dangerous, right? I mean, we're not meant to be driving backwards. So the less time you can spend with your car in reverse, the better. You know, and seriously, like pull out just as far as you need to clear the car to your right or to your left, and then, you know, turn the wheel and then proceed forward. As far as backing into the parking lot, the parking space, I kind of recall that too, saying that it was safer to do that. I can't say for sure. I don't remember ever teaching or hearing that it was more dangerous, because I guess I was always talking about pedestrians. You know, you don't want to hit pedestrians. And again, if you can pull out of a spot forward, you're less likely to hit someone. So that's it. That's all I wanted to share. Thanks.
Yeah, I need to do my driver's training again for a defensive driver for Red Cross. But I remember last year doing it, and it said that if you have the opportunity to, definitely back into a parking space. So that is what's being taught. I haven't heard that it's more dangerous, but especially with backup cameras, I do find it easier personally now, and hate it when I'm forced to pull in front.
It takes a little getting used to
Yeah.
initially when you use that backup camera.
Absolutely.
So, but once you've done it a few times, you've got it.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Mike, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Mike Diaz here. There's three things that I would like to give as my tips and suggestions. The first one, it's always a good idea to buy the best emergency prep gear and supplies that you can afford, especially if your life may one day count on these items. I'm sure now everybody's budget is different, and that's understood. You know, you could go probably to the 99-cent store and find a lot of items that are probably on most general emergency and prep lists. You probably could, you know, at a very affordable price. But the question that I would like just for thought to give everybody is, are those items that you would honestly say 100% that you could count to save your life if they've been sitting on the shelf for any short or long amount of time when you really need them? You know, I mean, that's just the question. You know, but these things, I'm gonna tell you, most of the premium top tier level of emergency and preparation supplies and equipment and gear that you can buy, a lot of it's very expensive. I'm not gonna lie. I've spent years and constantly, continuously upgrading my supplies, my emergency gear, my preps, and everything like that. But now here's the add-on to that. Most, if not all of those items that are even top tier brand, high quality, professional level emergency supplies and equipment, you can usually find here in Southern California at bargain prices when you're just patient and you search and you do your homework and you're sometimes a little bit patient and diligent about it on things like OfferUp, military supply stores, yard sales, thrift stores, and those kind of places where you can get some of these, I mean, really, really good, high quality items at a bargain basement price if you know what you're looking at. You know, there's plenty of options out there. And there, you know, we live in an area here in Southern California where we're also surrounded by a lot of military bases, and there's military members who are getting out of the service all the time who go to places like pawn shops and they just dump, I mean, some very expensive pieces of gear and equipment that you can sometimes find for very cheap and very affordable prices. You know, so I mean, that's just my suggestion with that. And I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. Expiration dates. We should all keep in mind that when preparing and supplying and gearing up for emergencies, that most, if not all of the things that we have and we buy in preparation for that one day, God forbid, you know, comes down on us here in Southern California when it's a true wide scale emergency for things like food and medical supplies. These are the two that came to mind when we were talking about expiration dates. These are two things that all of us should really keep in mind when it comes to monitoring and staying on top of for the expiration dates, because we do not want to end up one day in a real life emergency situation to find out like, oh, this item, whatever that might be that you now need, is 2-3 years or more, you know, past its expiration date. So I mean, you know, just staying on top of those things. I think the two things that are probably priority in that type of monitoring are food and medical supplies. You know, especially personal prescriptions, and then just your average everyday first aid stuff. A lot of that stuff in just the general purpose first aid kits, it has expiration dates on it. Just being aware of that. And then last thing, then I'll shut up. But here's something for thought. In a real life emergency situation, for most of us here who are going to be very active members of our local CERT teams, we may be called away. And sometimes we may not even know for how long or short that might be. It might be hours, it might be days, and it might even be weeks or maybe even longer, depending on how long our communities need us. But with that in mind, I would like to put it out there just for some thought. How many of us have given thought about preparing those that we're leaving behind at home to make sure that they're okay while we're away for however long our certain duties, responsibilities, and time might take us away from home and away from our loved ones, friends, and family, and even our pets. So, I mean, making sure that they're okay while we're away for however long or short that time might be is another part of preparing. I would think for an emergency situation, so that way when we're on site or out in the field, that we are 100% there instead of having to worry and having that certain amount of anxiety about what's going on at home. Is everybody at home okay? Is everything going on okay over there? Is everybody safe? Does everybody have something to eat? Does everybody have clean water? You know, and all those kind of things. You know, so thinking about who we leave behind and the home team, I think is also part of what we should also be, if not discussing on a regular basis, at least giving some thought to. You know,
Yeah.
so those are kind of my three things. And that's kind of all I have. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. And Aaron, real fast, last tip and trick, and then
Okay.
say good night to everyone.
Well, I was just going to mention that, remember, I took some firefighter courses at GCC Fire Academy. So just think about this, is that professional firefighters train about 10% out of the 2 weeks that they work. So that's 72 hours. So that's once every 2 weeks, they train for 7 hours, 20 minutes. And these are professional firefighters who are constantly working. So they're constantly in the thick of it, but they still take some time to train for at least 1 weekend every 2 weeks. And and this is by the NFPA, I think the National Firefighter Association, where it says that about 1,000 professional firefighters get injured and 10,000 volunteers because of the lack of training. So just keep in mind that we always have to keep on training, and it's a good exercise to do. And I'm just going to mention one last thing that we probably touched on the subject, but it's basically, I know that, and also based on our health, it might not be possible, but one outside of the box frame of thought you should do is, like, if you want to do some preparedness, like to keep food, for example, you know, they said save up to 6 months worth of finances, so in case you get fired or whatnot. Instead of doing the typical thing like getting MREs, which is pretty expensive, get regular canned foods and rice-a-ronis, all those type of things that can typically last for a year, but in 6 months, transfer those out, eat those out, or donate it, and restock 6 months worth of food. And if you can't do 6 months because of the space and time, just do it for 3 months or a month. So like that, you have a general basis of survivability that you could depend on your own, and you don't. And so when COVID happened, that it never occurred to me I needed toilet paper, and I completely went bonkers. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? But anyway, this is just my thought.
Thank you, Aaron. And it is after 9 o'clock, so I want to thank everyone. Thank you for all of you who contributed. Thank you for all of you who stayed with us this entire time. Happy holidays to everyone. We will be back in January, 3rd Wednesday of the month, with these continuing education trainings. We hope that everyone's finding something useful out of these, and that this helps you. Even if you find one thing that's useful, we hope that it helps you to live life better prepared. Have a good night, everyone, and happy holidays, and see you back in January.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Holidays.
Patrick, before you close it out, if anybody wants to save the chat, because there are a lot of good tips in the chat, let them do that. I'm getting ready to save it right now.
Okay. I didn't even know that was an option. Save chat. All right.
Those 3 little dots at the bottom of the screen, you can save the chat.
Yeah.